Hey, this is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are new to the channel or you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, so when I get to running this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. This is a Chronicle Speak response video. Thanks so much for all of the new subscribers and all of those who are going to subscribe. I was just going through YouTube land and I came across this thing about Deyjah, T.I'S daughter, who we all heard about some months back. Her father revealing how he goes with her to the gynecologist to ensure that she is still a virgin. And there was a huge uproar, obviously, in black social media, because a lot of the brothers were saying, why are women complaining about a man being protective over his daughter? And today, as I was looking at this thing, apparently Deyjah has come out and said that she's really embarrassed and that, you know, she doesn't really feel like she can say no to him coming to these checkups, and how allegedly she struggled with depression since the age of 11, obviously being the child of a celebrity. And the way I feel about what was said and the commentary that Chronicle Speak gave, it's one of those things that really broke my heart. Now, kudos to her, respect the fact that she's got a big platform and she's got her followers and she's done really well. But again, this is a female YouTuber, and I'm not criticizing any of her work. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but when it comes to women and when they give commentary, especially on things to do with men, they always view it from a female perspective, which you think, oh, duh, obviously you're a woman, so what other perspective would you view it from? Now, Chronicle Speak and a lot of the women, I scrolled through a couple of the comments. It was like, poor Deyjah, poor Tiny, how dare he? It's her body, her choice. He didn't necessarily say that, but that's the sentiment in the video, that the women who support the daughter being sexually active is her right. And the thing that everybody was so up in arms about, let me just speak as a whole, but for me, I was like, number one, if a man turned around and said to T.I'S daughter, he's like, say 30, I'm really attracted to you, there'll be a lot of black women who said, this man is perverse, he's like a pedophile, he's running around, trying to get sex out of young girls. Look at the age gap, he's an old man for her, okay? If she turns around and has a baby, then they're going to say, well, why shouldn't you accept her because she's had a child? It's natural. So what if she's a single mother? And then if she has a child now at a young age and then the man doesn't stick around, it's like, you see these men, they're all deadbeats. All they want is just to sleep with you and then they leave you with the baby. And then you have all these women talking about, I was in this relationship with this guy and we were together so long and he was sleeping together, but then he didn't want to marry me, and then I moved to a different guy and the same thing happened again, and then I moved to a different guy and the same thing happened again, and now I'm out here with like 3 kids by 3 different men, and all these men are rubbish. And it's like, and then you have the protection crew, the colorism crying team, who are always like, where is the protection? Like, as the video for the April Mason interview is up, and it's like, these are the same women who will turn around and say, well, are these men even protecting their daughters and their mothers? So you have a man out here who, unfortunately, this is the price you pay when you're the child of a celebrity, because nobody has privacy in that situation. Okay, everybody is public property. So if you are, struggling, that's unfortunate. So I understand that being, humiliated to a certain extent is going to compound how much you already feel depressed and anxious. Okay, that's fine. And I'm going to touch on that in a little while. But let's first talk about, number one, how T.I. is now being expected to do the rounds with all this apologizing. Like, why should he apologize for being concerned about something so crucial? Okay, at the end of the day, if you start being active early it can damage your psychological health. Okay, I need to look up the statistics, but it's going to impact your ability to trust. It's going to impact your ability to form healthy boundaries, and it's also going to maybe even dent your self-esteem and your self-confidence, especially if you get into situations that you can't manage and then you end up being exploited. And as much as 18 is kind of like semi an adult, I mean, if you're raised in a culture in a way that doesn't cause you to be mature, you are not going to be able to handle the adult responsibility that comes with sex at that young age. Not because you're physically young, but because mentally you're not matured. So if she's only 18, I mean, why are you running even to be thinking about sex anyway? Like, if your highest priority at 18 is sex, then obviously something's wrong with you. I mean, your body is gearing up to get ready because you're coming into your prime years, fair enough. But then on the other hand, it's not like you're looking to settle down and get married. The reason why your sexual drive is kicking in at that age is because you're also supposed to be looking for a spouse to settle down with. So a man saying to you, wait, is a form of protection. A man telling you not to do something because it's not going to work out for you is a form of protection, because he's trying to protect you from making decisions that have consequences that could last the rest of your life. Because it's all well and good to say, well, it's her body, her choice, but when she starts getting into relationships with guys, or maybe turns up pregnant, like if you already have depression, how are you going to feel if you end up with an unplanned pregnancy? Do you think, like, you already have depression on its own? What if you have, if you call it postnatal or postpartum, how are you going to cope then? Maybe you'd kill yourself and even your baby. I mean, he's protecting you by telling you, I really want you to take your time, because you are not mentally stable at the moment to deal with all of the baggage that comes with getting into physical relationships with different people. I don't understand how women don't see his actions as protective. Now, okay, he might seem overbearing if he allegedly comes in the room with her. Again, how big is the room? Is, as the gynecologist is going up in there, is he, around there with the torch? I'm sure he isn't. When we're not talking about the average person's GP, okay? A little cub, I don't know. For all we know, like, when she goes in there, it's almost like an apartment. There's a screen, there's a room, there's a door. Maybe they can hear each other, but even if they're in a similar room, which I understand is still uncomfortable, it doesn't mean to say he's actually right in there with the doctor. Okay, but if she came up pregnant, if she came up with an STD, or she was, rumors flying around with that maybe she had a termination because she couldn't handle being a mother at such a young age, or she was a young mother and everybody was like, oh, later on down the road, oh, poor you, you had it so hard because you were a young mom. These are the same women who are part of the sisterhood of failure, who would have then turned around and said, your father didn't do a decent job, he didn't protect you. And in the video, Chronicle Speaks, like say she starts living, starts being active, and then goes to the father and tells him, like, oh, well, whether you like it or not, I'm going to God, then I'm going to do this, And it's like, he's controlling. You are 18. You cannot support yourself. You live under his roof, and he is not telling you something that's harming you. You see, because women want other women, and this is kind of the next bit I want to go to about her now. Because these women want other women to be spoiled. I'm not really saying Chronicle Speaks, but in general, when it comes to things that will negatively impact a woman, a lot of women, when it's something that they want to do themselves, they will condone it. Because, how many women out here, if they could go back in their life and do it all again, they would do things differently. And having a father in the home who is active and having these very real world conversations about things that really matter, a lot of women didn't have that. That's why they made the mistakes they made. Okay, and then the next aspect of that is he is not controlling because he's financing her life, but he is financing her life and she lives under his roof. He is his responsibility until he gets married. She gets married, sorry. So it's not about him being necessarily controlling, but he's leading. So when we see black women saying they want leaders, and in fact they don't really say they want leaders, they only talk about protectors and providers because they want the benefits of patriarchy, but they don't want to take the secondary position. You know, connected to the idea of the sisterhood of failure, that another question that really needs to be asked is, why is it you are 18 in a society like this and you're not proud to say, you know, I'm not sexually active? Instead of turning around and patting her father on the back and say, you know what, my dad really loves me, my dad really cares about me, he understands, and there's things that I don't understand yet. Instead, no, she's having like a breakdown, crying about how much, you know, he's being overbearing, and she's ashamed. I mean, I understand that you see, this is the problem. She's ashamed probably because she's shamed by others, because people start teasing her that she's a virgin at 18 when 18 is not really that old. But because everybody else around her is spoiled already, they're trying to bait her, especially probably, you know, old kind of people, into saying, well, give it up because, you know, you're getting old. Why are you so old and you still haven't done it yet, girl? What are you waiting for? So it's like, she's ashamed for something that she should be proud of. And as I said in the April Mason video, the community lives for shaming, but the problem is we shame each other for things that we should be proud of, and the things that we shouldn't be proud of, those are the things we celebrate and glorify. You see, many of the women in the comment section were saying how, because of the clip that I've watched personally, where Deyjah was talking about how she feels, they were saying, why don't the women console her? Why don't her cousins give her a hug? And it's kind of like, this is where the instilling of that contempt for the black man begins. When the women take the side of the girl, or, you know, defending the girl's, not sentiment, but not helping her to see it from her father's perspective, what it ultimately does is it sows in her mind that she's right about everything she's thinking. Now, she has the right to feel about the situation, you know, however she wants to feel. And I do understand why she's complaining, because it's something so personal, and she's clearly like, she's a fragile person because she has this mental health issue. So I can understand why she's so embarrassed that he went out there and publicly said what he said. And, you know, and maybe the way he said it, it was insensitive, it wasn't, you know, very tactful. So I totally get why she would be embarrassed. Anybody would be if their father went on international TV and went out and blurted something like this out. It was highly inappropriate. And I just want to say, when people are selected to go on to shows, to do interviews, they either already know what they're going to be asked, or the people who are doing the interview already have some inside juicy gossip that they want to kind of clarify, or they know this is going to bring ratings. So the whole thing is contrived because it's not a genuine question that just came out of the air. I mean, who asked people about their children's sexual health? So we all know that this is orchestrated anyway. Having said that, the topic in and of itself is very interesting. The women keep saying, why don't the women who are with T.I'S daughter embrace her? And that they're trying to insinuate everybody is scared of T.I because he's the one with the money. But it's like, of course, you see, this is why in the black community, black women have such a hard time with male leadership, because from their youth, they come together against the men. And now, you see, T.I is another, the latest victim of the masculinity witch hunt. Any man who's going to rise up and say, you live under my roof, you are not going to do certain things, you are forbidden from doing certain things. Now T.I. has set the stage that, you know, don't open your mouth to say anything to your daughters, because immediately you'll be brandished as a narcissist and a control freak and an abusive man and a bad person. So the condition of the black community will deteriorate, because he was, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he was deliberately selected so that he could be made an example of. That's what I don't like about this whole situation. He was chosen because they knew he was going to say something stupid, and then he would have to go on this apology circuit, you know, going around telling everybody. And basically what he's doing is teaching men, just keep your mouth shut. If your daughter's, you know, got a different man every night, don't say anything. It's her body, her choice. You know, you're a monster if you try and tell them, you know, you're young and you live under my roof. That was the whole point of this setup. He was deliberately asked this question so the whole house could be brought down upon him, because black men rising up and having a say and standards is something that the powers that be don't want. And you think just because T.I. is talking to black people that these black people are for the community? They're not. They're all paid. They're paid by the same hand that keeps the black community suppressed. And we know, and as I've said it before, single motherhood, out of wedlock pregnancies, broken homes with dysfunction, it all contributes to the reason why the black community is in the state that it's in. So a man saying to his daughter that I don't want you to be sexually active, I want you to focus on what's really important, that is a commendable sentiment. Obviously, I don't support him not being so harsh on his sons, but you know, if I had a son and a daughter of these ages, 15 or whatever, 15 and 18, they would have to be told the same thing, keep yourself to yourself. But I wouldn't have a problem with them dating and understanding what relationships are really like, because we can all watch TV and think, you know, I'm just going to go out in the world and I'm going to be like, you know, Cinderella, and I'm going to have a lot of misfortune, and then a prince is going to come and sweep me off my feet. And a lot of brothers, they're not really educated on the nature of women. They don't understand the pitfalls of getting into relationships. And again, a lot of black women talk about, why are black men defeated? Why aren't black men achieving? Why haven't black men built anything? But a lot of them, they've been derailed from their youth. So maybe this is why T.I. doesn't come down so hard on his son, because he wants his son to quickly get the education about how the world and women really works, so that he's not stung by certain things. You see, a lot of people, they're complaining about how these rappers talk about women are not loyal, and you know, they make certain statements, but these are men that have dealt with probably tens if not hundreds of women. So their perception is not based on hearsay, it's what they've actually seen with their own two eyes. And even a lot of young boys coming up today, they don't need the manosphere or the internet to tell them about female nature, because a lot of these young girls, as soon as you give them a camera and a active online account, you see the other side of them. So T.I. doesn't want to get stung by a female who maybe will say or do something later to him down the road. Maybe that's why he's more lenient. He still should protect his son and tell his son to keep himself to himself, because he can be derailed by an unplanned pregnancy just as much as Deyjah would be. But he wants him to understand the true nature of women. Maybe that's why he's a bit more relaxed. But, you know, although promiscuity does impact a man's mental health, I do think it's going to damage a female more than a male. So for that reason, maybe that's why he's more protective. Again, he is being protective over his daughter for her own best interest, and it's seen as oppressive control, which is very strange, because if she were to get into a situation where she shouldn't be, who would she call then? Her mother? It just seems strange that once upon a time a protective father was seen as a great thing, and now it's seen as something to be embarrassed about, you know, or looked down upon. The other thing I wanted to say is, You know, people are even sympathizing with Tiny, but Tiny's got a great life. You know, she's a mature woman. She has a good income and a good life, and you know, she made her money with her band, her group, but her husband is the one bringing in the big bucks, and she's sitting pretty. You know, the life that a lot of women want, a real housewife. So again, you have that sisterhood of failure, this mentality of pushing the whole strong and independent. I mean, people didn't really say Tiny was a pick-me. They more said Tiny must be being oppressed by T.I. because he's the one with the money. But it doesn't occur to a lot of the women making these criticisms. Maybe Tiny actually agrees that you are too young to be sexually active. Maybe she's just being a supportive wife. And this is how sometimes women, they start getting in the ear of married women, filling their head with negativity to the point where they walk away from their marriages. Because at the end of the day, Tiny as a mother should also be concerned with her daughter's best interest. And maybe the reason why she doesn't say anything about what T.I. does is because she sees it as this is the best thing. It's easy for us to comment as an outsider looking on them and saying, oh, he must be a controlling narcissist and she's the oppressed, battered housewife. But the reality is this. He is looking out for his daughter, and maybe after they had a conversation, Tiny realized, actually, I do agree that, you know, she should wait. Maybe I don't agree with the way T.I. goes about it and this and that, but that is leadership, you know, and submission. She is following his lead because she's putting her trust in his decision making. Again, this rebellion against the whole idea of him taking the lead, it shows how ingrained the contempt for black male leadership in the community is. But then when the family gets derailed, the same women who said, why does this place look like this, will say, well, where was the man? The reason why this happened is because the man wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. So the sisterhood of failure is always working because that feminist mindset is so deeply ingrained within black women.
Because, as I've said before, you know, the woman's perfect age range to settle down really is like 18 to late 20s, depending on how you care for yourself. Some would say it's cut off is like 30, some would say cut off is, you know, late 20s. So you're getting into your prime years, and when you get married, you have something special to give to your husband. But not only that, you know, you're going to get bored just having sex all the time. If you're forming bonds and breaking bonds with different men, by the time you meet a decent man, you won't be able to bond to him. And if you really love him, that means years of sex and enjoyment and intimacy. So you're not missing out on anything. But because the black community makes you feel ashamed of things you should be proud of, you end up putting yourself in positions you don't need to be, and then having to suffer all the consequences on your own. So it really hurt me to hear how, you know, and I'm sure others will talk about this, but I know the men are going to approach it from the angle of, you know, they're going to approach it from the angle of T.I. looking out for his daughter. It's really sad that in the end, women see something that should be praised as an opportunity to criticize a man who, if he wasn't doing that, would then be accused of not caring and not protecting. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.